I held on as much as I could. I was clawing onto her arm and I was trying to get the other arm up to try and grab her, and I couldn't. And then she was gone.
If no one was there to help pull me out, I'm dead.
If the numbers aren't controlled, there will be more deaths, without a doubt.
With one of the strongest bites in the world at 3,700 psi, saltwater crocodiles consider anything and everything prey. Unfortunately, two friends celebrating the end of one of their cancer treatments learned just how strong their bite can be.
Just trying to fight, and then all of a sudden we were taken again. It was the same amount of force. We were taken.
But the Nile crocodile can be just as deadly. So deadly that one infamous killer croc took the lives of over 200 African villagers, spurring a decades-long hunt. And with an even stronger bite force than saltwater crocs, crunching in at 5,000 psi, I understand why they hunted the damn thing.
We're gonna catch this crocodile now. We're gonna trap him. It'll be difficult, but we're gonna get him.
How did the saltwater crocodile go from an endangered species to an everyday threat to Australians? What key survival tactic saved this miner's life? And is this infamous crocodile serial killer still lurking in the waters of Africa? There are 16 different species of crocodile, the most prominent being the saltwater and Nile crocodile. Their notoriety is likely due to their terrifyingly high kill counts. Saltwater crocodiles can be found in Australia and Southeast Asia, while the Nile crocodile is found across parts of Africa. They are responsible for killing approximately 1,000 people annually, with over 80% of the deaths coming from their razor-sharp teeth. Not only are croc attacks more common than shark attacks, but they're often less survivable. Known for being incredibly territorial, stealthy, and aggressive predators, crocodiles fear no one. Some towns and villages in Australia and Africa use rivers or lakes for fishing, washing clothes, or even just getting water. And this is often where crocodiles sit, patiently waiting to snatch their next unsuspecting victim. For Cindy Waldron and her friend Leeann Mitchell, that's exactly what a 13-foot saltwater crocodile was doing.
And then Cindy cried out to me. And she said, "It's got me."
Cindy and Leeann's friendship dates back to high school. The two formed such a close bond that they considered each other sisters. When Leeann was diagnosed with breast cancer, Cindy was by her side every step of the way, putting her best friend's recovery at the forefront of her life. After treatments and surgery, Leeann was officially in remission. Cindy and Leeann planned a trip to the Daintree rainforest off the coast of northern Queensland, Australia, to celebrate. The two stayed at a friend's place in Thornton Beach, a remote area known for not having cell phone reception, electricity, or many people.
We were just so full of this joy of being together in that place, alone. We just wanted to run around, and that was exactly what we did. And in the process of doing that, we ended on the water's edge. We ended up on the water's edge.
Not going waist deep into the water, the pair didn't think they were in much danger, even if it was nighttime. Although the waters were known to be crocodile infested, with signs warning visitors of that fact, the two didn't think they would be at risk so close to the shore.
It was really dark. Cindy's back was to the water and mine was to the beach. And we were laughing.
That's when Cindy felt something and cried out to her friend, "It's got me." Initially, Leeann thought Cindy was brushed by seaweed and tried to calm her down. She grabbed Cindy's arm and told her, "I got you." Then, it became clear that something powerful was in the waters beneath them.
We were pulled. We were pulled. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
The croc pulled Cindy with such force that Leeann, who was still holding on to one of Cindy's arms, was yanked deeper into the water alongside her.
I realised there was something, and I put my hand out, and I felt the top of its head. Then I started trying to punch and trying to hit and trying to fight, and I was screaming.
The crocodile continued to pull them with all its might. Despite Leeann's best efforts to save her friend, sadly, it was too powerful. Within seconds, Cindy was gone. Leeann bravely dove underwater to find her, but without the ability to see anything, all she could do was feel around. With no luck finding her friend in the darkness, Leeann had only one thing left to do.
I wanted to help, and the only help I could give was by screaming Sally's name. But screaming. Screaming for her to come back.
Leeann ran into a nearby business after returning to shore and found someone to call the authorities. She was taken to the hospital for shock treatment and puncture wounds in her arm. A search mission began, and a 13-foot crocodile was caught and killed. After further investigation, Leeann's worst nightmare came true. Cindy's remains were inside the croc.
What happens if you come across something like this in the wild?
You just wouldn't want to be in the water with something like this trying to get you, you know, like you wouldn't have much of a chance, I'm afraid.
What would you do in a situation like this? Although it may seem impossible to survive a crocodile attack, never say never. If you find yourself in croc country, you'll want to avoid any waters where they may be hunting for their next victim. Be aware of your surroundings, and if you spot one, back away slowly. If you're on land, run in a straight line, as crocs can only move at 10 miles per hour. There's a common tip to run in a zigzag, but it turns out that it's just a myth. The goal here is to get as far away as quickly as possible. If you're in water, don't make sudden movements. Splashing water in its direction is one of the worst things you can do, as this can attract more attention. If a crocodile attacks, you'll want to fight back and aim for its eyes, as it's one of their most sensitive spots. And if you're planning a trip to Australia, that tip may just save your life. The country has been dealing with an ever-growing saltwater crocodile problem, and they're showing up in more populated areas. Following World War II, the saltwater croc population significantly declined as they were regularly hunted for their skins. Facing extinction, the country passed a law in 1971 that banned hunting them, which is still in place today. However, 6 decades later, the saltwater crocodile population has risen to unsafe numbers, with over 200,000 of them estimated to be calling various bodies of water across the country home. For Aussie Todd Bairstow, when he cast his reel, things got very real.
I ended up facing him like this on the mud, in the water, with just his snout sticking out. Get on both my legs, just growling like that. He can just growl at me. And then I'm like, this is it, he's gonna pull me in.
In 2011, 28-year-old miner Todd Bairstow and his dog went fishing in Weipa, North Queensland. Known for having more crocs than people, Weipa is referred to as croc country. Queensland's government website warns that even if an area doesn't have a crocodile warning sign, assume there are crocs in the water. But despite having that knowledge, many fishermen willingly fish in croc-infested waters.
You reckon it's safe here, dude?
It's not 100% safe, that's why I certainly keep a good eye out.
You reckon you'll see it coming?
Well, maybe not. You don't see the one that gets you, that's what they say.
It turns out what they say is true. When a massive crocodile attacked Todd, he definitely didn't see it coming. Within the blink of an eye, he was waist deep in the water, with his legs caught in the jaws of the croc. Todd attempted to pry the crocodile's mouth open to get it to release its jaws, which only made matters worse.
And I went, tried to put my hand down and try to get him off, and he took another bite, and that's when he must have pinned my hand to the leg.
With both legs and one of his hands trapped in its jaws, Todd reached for a mangrove branch to avoid being pulled under.
So I started just yanking this one as hard as I could. I managed to pull it off.
Pull it free.
But at the same time I pulled my finger off. But what's the finger?
While being attacked, Todd's dog, Dig, unfortunately wasn't much help. Rather than barking, it was sniffing around. In an act of desperation, Todd attempted to sacrifice Dig for his own life.
So I grabbed him and I threw him over my back, hoping that he'd take him, you know, because I've heard a lot of stories, crocs like dogs, you know.
So you threw your dog in the water
Put a dog in the water, hoping he'd let go.
as a sacrifice.
Sacrifice so I can go, get out.
Let's just hope they patched up their relationship later. We've seen what angry dogs can do. The Croc was not interested in Dig and continued crunching down on Todd's legs. After tirelessly fighting to break free, his last resort was to yell for help. Thankfully, fellow miner Kevin Bevan heard Todd's cries and quickly jumped into action. Kevin used a nearby mangrove branch to hit the crocodile on the head, hoping it would let go. He then managed to pull Todd free.
You could hear him screaming, could you?
Yeah, mate, he was bellowing for his life. Bloody screaming. I ran out there and latched onto him, and he was just saying, "Don't let go of me, don't let go of me. It's got me."
After a 30-minute struggle, Todd was no longer in danger of being eaten alive, but was in desperate need of medical attention. He needed to be airlifted to a nearby hospital with both his legs broken and severe puncture wounds, dislocated joints, a missing finger, and cuts to his hands. Thankfully, his injuries weren't life-threatening, and after surgeries and rehab, he was able to recover. Todd's fighting with everything he had in him is a key reason he survived. This allowed Kevin to come to his aid and ultimately rescue him. Let Todd's story remind us that when pushed to its absolute limits, the human spirit is much stronger and more resilient than we could ever imagine. While saltwater crocodiles spur terror to Australians, hundreds of African villagers have fallen victim to one giant killer beast who could still be lurking in the waters of Burundi to this day.
We're gonna catch this crocodile now. We're gonna trap him. It'll be difficult, but we're gonna get him.
One bite from a Nile croc is enough to crush every bone in your body. It's hard for experts to be certain, but it's estimated on average, Nile crocs kill 200 people annually. Found in fresh waters, mangrove swamps, and of course the Nile basin, run-ins with humans are more common than I'd like to admit. And let's just say it's rare for a croc to be on the losing end of those encounters. The average Nile croc is usually around 16 feet and weighs 500 pounds, but the larger ones can reach up to 20 feet and weigh over 1,600 pounds. And then there is Gustave, believed to be one of the largest and deadliest crocs across the continent. This 20-foot, 2,000-pound monstrosity is known for his terrifyingly high kill count, estimated to be around 300 people.
There's the beast.
Gustave can be found roaming the northeastern shores of Lake Tanganyika, and over the years, he's garnered a reputation similar to that of the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot. The only difference is that multiple confirmed sightings of this killer crocodile have occurred, as have numerous missions to capture it and end its killing ways. Patrice Fay, a self-taught naturalist, made it his life's mission to capture Gustave. In 2004, Patrice and a film crew documented their attempt, but unfortunately for them, the beast did not fall for their trap. In 2019, a report claimed that he had finally been killed, although there was no evidence or much concrete proof to back it up. Many think Gustave, estimated to be nearly 100 years old, is still roaming the waters, snatching up unsuspecting victims and etching his name into the history books. There is only one way to find out if he's still alive, and it won't be me going down there, so give me a shout when you do. My advice for surviving a Nile crocodile attack is the same as for surviving a saltwater crocodile attack. Avoid them at all costs. Aim for the eyes and head if you are being attacked by one. Fight back as hard as you can because these things show no mercy, often eating their prey alive. Crocs are also known for their signature death roll, a maneuver often used to rip off chunks of flesh or bones out of sockets. You can think of this as a crocodile's deadly finishing move, if this was a video game. And they're also smart enough to know that most of their prey can't breathe underwater and will intentionally drown larger targets. Now, knowing how dangerous crocs can be, I hope you'll do whatever you can to avoid croc-infested waters. Some people, however, ignore warnings often until it's too late. When it comes to crocs or any wild animal, respecting their space and knowing the dangers of your environment will significantly increase your chances of survival. Unfortunately for the Japanese soldiers fighting for Ramree Island during World War II, their knowledge, or lack thereof, ultimately ended up leading to one of the worst crocodile feeding frenzies in history. check out our video on the gruesome tale, and remember, your next move could be the difference between life and death. We'll see you next time on How to Survive.